Hey, how are you doing?
I am doing amazing. How are you?
I am doing great. And hello to everybody out there in Facebook land and YouTube land. I believe in Twitch land. We're going to find out tonight. Hello and thank you. Hello and thank you all for tuning in to an interview with hosted by yours truly, Eunice White. It is here where I interview talented people from all walks of life. Joining us tonight is author G.B. Lynch to discuss her book, We Are Still Supposed to Be Slaves, The Chronicles of Being Black in America. My sponsors tonight are Untapped Talent Records, Untapped Music Radio, and April J. Armstrong of Armstrong International Media, also known as AIM, for the culture, for the collective. Hello to everybody tuning in, and if you have any comments or questions for our guests tonight, please place them in the chat. So once again, hello to our guest, Arthur G.B. Lynch, and thank you so much, and welcome to an interview with.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate that you are even interested, first of all, in my book, and that anybody's interested in anything that I have to say. So I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. So, how I came across you was from your husband. We happen to be Facebook friends rather, and we also went to high school together. So he was a fine guy back in the day, very nice young man. So I'm pretty sure he's still a wonderful guy and a wonderful husband today. So it's just nice to be able to reconnect and nice to meet you. And I love the way he's promoting your book. And I love African American and history and African history. Love it. So when I saw your book, the title alone, I was like, we're still supposed to be slaves. What is that about? Wait a minute. But then I saw the little fine print, the Chronicles of Being Black in America, and just your introduction prior to the chapter 1 of the book really set the tone. That was almost a lesson right there in itself. And I was like, oh, this woman is awesome. She has done some wonderful research, and I can't wait for you just to talk about it. So we'll start with the question I love to ask. When did you fall in love with? For you, when did you fall in love with writing?
Wow. I've been writing really since grade school. I initially found a passion for poetry. So I actually still have collections that I actually wrote when I was in middle school. I still have them, and I've had a few people when I mention that, they tell me that I should actually publish those, because it's interesting to see how you grow from what my writings were then as opposed to how I write, phrase things, and how you think about things now, so many years later. Wait, not that many years later, but so years later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always written, and then from there, I actually tried to start my first novel when I was in high school, but I just never got around to finishing it. And I do have a lot of projects in the works right now that should have long been finished. But as I usually say, it's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
So I told my husband, I was like, I had to put myself on a performance improvement plan, because there are things that I was supposed to long have had done and completed, and it's just not getting done. So I need to work on me to get this completed.
Get it. Yeah, talk about having a lot of irons in the fire, because I feel the same way. There's so many things that are tabled because I just don't have the time, unfortunately, to like really focus on it for whatever reason. But I mean, they're there, and I know at some point in time I'm going to go back to them and just
Exactly.
finish them, develop them, finish them to completion. So, as a writer, a young writer, you mentioned as a young person, what were some of the things you wrote about back then, or some of the things you wrote about back then?
Well, of course, love.
Oh, okay. That was
As you're like eight, nine, 10, you're you're thinking, you have love or have found love or your heart gets broken. So there's a poem, you have, a friendship that may not have, gone as planned. Okay, there's a poem. So that's pretty much what most things are about from that
yeah.
stage.
I was speaking with a couple of authors and writers and even songwriters I've interviewed so far, and it seems that every time we write something, it's always out of some kind of pain or disappointment. But they make for the best writings. I'm not sure
It
why this is the
does.
case. I mean, bestsellers or favorite songs, top what 10 songs. I'm like from someone's pain, and
Yeah,
it's just
I write
how it goes.
music
Yeah.
too. I'm actually a registered songwriter.
Oh, are you
So
really?
I have book a collection of music too from just
Well,
years that I
I
don't
have
get
to
rid
hook
of.
you up. You are actually in the company, and I'm waiting for many people to come on right now, but you're in the company of a lot of poets and songwriters and authors as well. And as a matter of fact, one of my sponsors, she's a part of an event that's coming up where they're looking for spoken word artists to come and read their poetry. And I read some of your poetry in the
Mm,
back of your book. So there's still, I think I saw an advertisement she posted today, and I think they're still looking for people to join. It's for Women's History Month event.
okay.
So if you're interested, if you can be a part of it, when she comes on board, or when we get a chance, I will definitely pass your information along or give you her information. It's coming up. I believe it's virtual. I don't know all the details, but
Mm,
it's supposed to be a really nice event. So,
I bet.
yeah. Well, also, I wanted to ask you who are or were some of your favorite authors and poets and why?
Um, that's another thing. I've been into reading probably all my life. I remember um back to like my earliest memories are age 3, and I remember my mother. She used to actually, um, I would sit in her lap, and she had like a few children's books, that she would read to me,
Oh, wow.
and we would read them so often that I would just memorize the
Okay.
actual books before I
Mhm.
could, read or write. Like I knew exactly what was going to be said next, when she turned the page and that type of thing. So from there, I started to actually read the books. So reading has always been, really important to me. My first author, I think, that really captured me when it came to trying to learn more about our history in depth was
Mhm.
probably James Baldwin, um, and Nikki Giovanni.
Oh, yeah?
As far as is, she's not my next person that I really listen to a lot. That she's not a writer,
Mhm.
but um, I used to listen a lot to her words, the words of her music, and that was Billie Holiday.
Okay.
Um, so just a very diverse mix of different, not just writers, but musicians as well. That
Mhm.
as as they wrote or performed, they spoke to me. I heard them, I felt them, and I would oftentimes, things, if I would hear something that I did not understand, as a younger
Mhm.
person, it made me go and research. I spent a lot of time in the library when I was young, and I still love going to the library today.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
still spend a lot of time in the library when I can.
I can tell when I was looking through the book and I read your reference list, I said she have over 150 references. She was not playing. She was not playing. She really, when you put this booklet together and just to share with us a lot, like I stated, unearth um, information about our history going as far back as even Africa. I thought that was wonderful, and I like the
Thank
fact that that you were able to. I mean, I know this had to be a lot. How long did it take you to do this? As a matter of
you.
fact.
Just this portion, and it's going to be two more volumes to this because I had so many notes
Okay.
that the book just would have been too large, and it took me 2 years just to do
Wow.
this. I started
Wow.
in 2018, and
Okay.
then the pandemic shutdown helped me finally finish it in
Okay.
2020.
Yeah. Well,
So,
have you started the next couple of volumes yet? Trying to organize and compile like what's going to go in each volume, the next couple books?
yes, I have my notes together. The part that's kind of troublesome to me is that I'm constantly finding out more information.
More.
Like as I
Yeah.
run into something and I'm just like, hmm, I should know that, but I never heard of that. And that's really how this came about. Because I knew you
Hmm.
said you were going to ask me how did this
Hmm.
project come about. So I apologize if I'm jumping the
No,
gun,
no
but it
worries. No worries. No worries.
uh, ran into that. But when I would hear things, and I feel like, okay, at the time that I published the book in 2020, I turned 50. And
Hmm.
I felt like before that, in my 40s, and I'm hearing different things, little clips here and there about different um, pieces of history, Black history, which I consider American history, is all of
Hmm.
our history. But
Yeah.
I would hear things and I'd be like, wait a minute, there's no way that I should be this age and I don't know this.
Never heard.
Um, yeah, none of your educators, none of the walks of life and travels that you've gone through. And then all of a sudden, this little tidbit I'd run across of information. And so I'm just curious by nature. So anytime I would, see something, read something, hear something, so I go and do
Mhm.
more research and find out, wow, and I never heard that. So then I'm
Yeah.
always, of course, bouncing things off the hubby. So I asked him, I'm like, did you know this? And then, if he says no, I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. We should know this. So as I kept saying that, I ended up saying, well, you know what? All this information needs to be, in one
Yeah.
place. Somebody needs to write about this. And
Hmm.
so eventually I said to myself, well, the somebody's going to have to be me. You
Yeah.
cannot, wait for someone else to do or expect someone else to do something that you can do yourself. And
Yeah.
I felt really passionate about this, and having gone through and trying to figure out exactly how I was going to actually do it, because it's so much that we don't know. It's like we
Exactly.
think, I hear it all the time, we think we know everything. Oh, why are we still talking about slavery? Oh, why are we still making movies about slavery?
Hmm.
Because we think we know it
I
all,
hear
but
that a lot
we don't know it all. And why is it important for us to know?
because we don't want to repeat it. That's the
Exactly,
main
you
thing. I
cannot.
always say, I don't want to repeat this.
Yeah, you will not realize that something has already been done if you
Hmm.
don't know about it. When they
Exactly.
pull something on you and you think, oh wow, this is new, or I've never seen them do this before. They just started this. If you don't know your history, you don't realize they've done this before to our
And
ancestors. It's not
before, and
new.
before.
Yeah.
See,
And even
yeah.
before they even made it over here, they've done it. So it
Mhm.
really is. It's truly important to me. I mean, I spent a lot of nights in tears as I was researching, reading
Mhm.
different things, because I could feel, I could
Mhm.
literally feel, um, what was happening, what had happened, you know,
Right.
I just, I just had to do it. And I
Yeah.
still have to make sure that, that I continue on. I have to press on, and because it's still so much more information to be
Yeah, there is.
covered. So
Well,
yeah.
guys, you are tuned in to an interview with, and I'm holding the book, We Are Still Supposed to Be Slaves, The Chronicles of Being Black in America by Author G.B. Lynch. I'm so happy to have her with us tonight. And if you guys have any questions or comments for the author G.B. Lynch, place them in the chat. In the meantime, we are going to go to our first sponsor. We haven't even touched any part of this book yet. This is a deep book, and I encourage everybody who can, please grab this book, order it. It makes a wonderful gift, makes for a wonderful gift. If you're, especially if you're a lover of Black history, African history, African American, however you want to classify it, you're going to be very amazed at a lot of the people that she is able to introduce just in this first volume that we've never heard of before. Many of us, I'm not going to say all of us, many of us have never heard of the names mentioned in this book that she's had the fortunate opportunity to find out about. So we'll be back, but let's tune into our first sponsor. And again, we are here with author G.B. Lynch to discuss her book today. So, calling all singers and rappers and poets. Do you need beats, management, studio time, or would you like to have your music played in rotation on Untapped Music Radio? Well, for more information on affordable prices, contact DJ Get Loose or T Hatchet at untappedtalentrecordings@gmail.com. Let's check out their affordable packages and meet one of their satisfied customers now. So we will be right back.
I like sushi, girls that are bougie. I like euphony. I like ladies with cheese, red bottoms, please. Diamonds or platinum, black, Asian or Latin. From Philly to Manhattan, I'm a East Coast dude, kinda mannish, kinda rude. I like 'em bougie, bougie, picky and choosy. I don't do floozies, try to use me, only baked up.
And we are back. So, for more information, again, on the packages, DJ Get Loose, affordable packages, sorry, please contact DJ Get Loose or T Hatchet at untappedtalentrecordings@gmail.com. An interview with can be heard on Untapped Music Radio every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Want to thank Untapped Talent Records and Untapped Music Radio for sponsoring an interview with hosted by yours truly. So we're going to go to the chat real quick, guys. Thank you again for tuning in and hanging out with us this evening. We have a brilliant, brilliant author here tonight. Oh my gosh. Do you teach Black history or African American history, by the way?
No, I do not. No.
Well, you might end up having to go to Harvard and be a guest teacher or something, because it's a fascinating book, very fascinating.
No.
I'm really, really happy to see the way it's compiled is wonderful, and I can only imagine. I can't wait for the other 2 volumes to come out. Really, I mean, that book is awesome. That book is awesome. So let's go to the chat really quickly, and let's see. Starting with the first one, who we have? Hello, Sophia. I'm just going to be showing the chat as we're going. Hi. Hello, Warren. Hi, Terry. Hello, Queens. Now, Terry is one of the Untapped UTR folks, and they have a whole lot going on. Very wonderful people, and they love independent artists. If you're into spoken word and poetry and that type of thing, you might want to hook up with them and see what, how you can get in rotation on their radio station. So I'm just putting all that out there.
Oh my goodness.
They do have their first spoken word artist, who is April J. Armstrong, and she actually is one of my other sponsors. A wonderful song. You hear that later too. But yeah, so any questions for everybody? Anybody out there? Hi, D. Hi, D.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hi, DJ Get Loose. Thank you for everybody tuning in.
Yes.
And someone's asking, where can I get my copy? So you want to share that really quickly? We're going to post it later, but they want to know, where can they get their copy of We Are Still Supposed to Be Slaves? The Chronicles of Black
America. Actually, the easiest way probably is Amazon.com, but because it's available Kindle ebook. You can do soft copy, or also have hard copy as well.
Okay, got you. Oh, it's nice. Like hard copy is really cool. I have this soft copy. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, again, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. And again, if any questions you have regarding the book, or any questions you have for the author, please put those comments in the chat for us. Okay, let's see what I have real quick. Let's see. Give me one moment. Okay, so all right. So as I read your book, what amazed me was to realize that Harriet Tubman was not the only or the first slave woman to be present or be presented on U.S. currency. I'm going to ask everybody just for 1 second, just take a look at these images, and this is discussed in the author's book. I want you guys to take a look at the images, and maybe I'm the only one who didn't know this. Sorry for my ignorance, but I did not. Take a look at the images, please, of U.S. currency during slavery time. And I want you guys to think about it, and then put your comments in the chat. Give me your reactions, okay? Let me know if you've even seen these images before. All right, we'll be right back. All right. That was the money back in the day, right? That was money back in the day. And here we are. We are trying to propose that Harriet Tubman, who was also a slave at the time, be placed on a $20 bill. But back in the day, they had those types of images on a 10 and a $50 bill. So when you came across that research, what did you think at first? And everybody, again, put your comments, put your concerns in the comments. Let me know, or your thoughts in the comments. When you saw those images, what struck you about those images?
The first thing that I thought of is when you see Black memorabilia that um, that they created to demean us as Black people, um, like the Aunt Jemima images and the various dolls and cans. I went to a museum a few months ago, a Black History Museum, and just looking at some of the things that they actually, would put on items like or words, just to demean us that they thought, I guess, was funny. Um, so when I saw the images of those bills, the first thing I saw was the images. Like, okay, so you have, you know, Black people that are on this bill that's, working in the
The field,
field. Um,
picking cotton
so
or whatever.
again, yeah. And you have this as if this would be a good thing. This, you would think, okay, Black people on money, that's a good thing. But again, at the same time, that that was not their intent behind it,
Mm-hmm.
because this was currency used when they were the Confederate
Mm-hmm.
states.
Mm-hmm.
So my first, I'm like, so this is what they thought about doing, because again, you're trying to make sure, you're trying to ensure that you not only preserve your way of life as far as having people enslaved,
Mm-hmm.
having people as chattel no differently than you would a herd of cattle. You actually went as far as putting this on currency, on money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a problem with that.
It was
I
my
did.
first time ever seeing. I had never seen anything like that. I don't think I mean, literally, I've seen images of money. You'll look at like old bills, but
Mm-hmm.
those bills never popped up in my Google search because
That,
I was like, what? And I was really shocked. I was really shocked. I wanted to. I know you talk about a lot of different things in your book. Some of the things that jumped out at me were, of course, you went through the history. So, guys, there's a lot to be said about how I guess the blacks or African Americans, like I said, however you want to reference yourself, got here, and a lot of it began because of trade and um, what really what really shocked me, and I learned this about maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I took an
mm-hmm.
African American history course,
Mm-hmm.
an African history course, and
Yes.
I was shocked to see the involvement of some of the Native African tribes that actually sold us off for things like the guns or the gunpowder or whatever they needed.
Yeah, any
They're
good.
prisoners of war. Who knew? And they just like sent us, just traded us off, and here we are traveling across the waters if we made it. You know what I'm saying? To do this human bondage labor, rather just human
Yeah.
labor, and kept in bondage. But I was really, I would have to say, kind of, I was very saddened to learn that it wasn't just them coming over and snatching us, but many times they traded with us. And I also found out too, what was really really interesting, a lot of them traded with us because sometimes they may have been forced to do it, because they felt like they needed their help for whatever reason, or A lot of times they wouldn't trade with you unless you converted to their religion. And that was another thing, that was something that was used, to get control, I guess. And
Absolutely.
many of them probably had to come up with quotas themselves. Okay, look, we're gonna be back here in about 3-4 months. I need you to have me 500 people, or else. Who knows? Who knows? But it was just
All of
really,
that did take place. All
yeah,
of that did take
yeah,
place. There were various um, many variables as to
mhm,
how all of this came to be, and from the different struggles, the different nationalities that you know partook in the enslavement of Africans. Um, but that is one piece that I think has been left out a lot of
mhm,
times when we listen to um, our history here and there. And
mhm,
I wanted to make sure that that we don't leave that out. I mean,
mhm,
for me, history is what it is. It's like you can't just leave out the parts that aren't cute, or
mhm, mhm.
that don't put us in a good light.
Yeah.
Um, it is what it is, and I felt like too that that's something that we as Black people, we really don't have. We really don't have a lot of honesty presented to us and truth presented to us when it comes to our history. That's the other reason why I feel like it's so important for us to continue to gain as much knowledge as we can, because we
Mhm.
have to. I feel anyway, and I hope others do, but I feel that I have to know and I have to tell others. It can't be I know something, I hold on to it,
Yeah.
and I don't share.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's funny you mentioned that. I did come across another piece in your book, and I was glad that you addressed that. Back in the day, our elders really didn't like to talk about stuff like this at all. You can ask a question, you could try to figure out why so and so don't look like the rest of them. Wait a minute, we body light, and we all dark skinned and
it's like, wait a minute,
different. His hair all curly. Like, wait a minute, what time is that? You don't want to talk about stuff like that, right?
right?
Yeah, or anything. There are stories. As a matter of fact, there's one particular story I thought was super cool. If I could share this really quickly. Stories
Mhm.
like this, for instance, which was very cool. So, it's a person I know whose family did some research, genealogy research, and
Okay.
found out that they had a maybe like a great great grandfather. He was white, and
Mm.
I don't know if he was from the north or south, but he ended up going south for some reason. He had a wife. His wife was Black, and when he went down south, their children, who one maybe one could pass for white, the other couldn't.
Okay.
Legit. But apparently, he wasn't. He didn't look white, but apparently he must have. I don't know if he was looking at some girl or something. And the father, who could pass for white, because yeah, he was white. Sorry, so he was white already, so he could pass for white. He got the wind that the townspeople were going to try to find his son and hang him. Now they didn't know that he was with his wife, who was Black. They didn't know he was had kids or whatever, and they didn't know the guy was his son.
Mhm.
So he went to the he went to the meeting and everything. This is what I was told about the story. He went to the meeting and everything, and somehow learned what they were going to do. And then, as they was getting ready to, execute their plan, he was able to gather whomever he needed to gather. And they ambushed the people, and was able to save his son and get his family out of the South. And I forget how far south. I don't know if it was South Carolina. I don't know if it was Georgia or whatever. But they ended up moving up north, like into Virginia, not West Virginia, probably Virginia. And that's where they would continue their family lineage. But I thought that was a fascinating story. I was like, wow. I said, so the father found out it. So he took him out. I was like, what? Took him out. I
That's
said, I bet he told his son, look, I done told you. Don't you get down here and show off. And he went down there looking at those women, and that was it.
it was over.
It was over. But I thought that sounds like a movie to me. It sounds like a movie to me. But anyway, yeah. But I thought it was very interesting when you made that comment about how the elders, because I guess like you were saying, maybe it was that fear that they put on you. As a matter of fact, who is this? John Heinrich Clark. To control a people, you must first control what they think about themselves, how they regard their history and culture. And when your conqueror makes you ashamed of your culture and your history, he needs no prison walls and no chains to hold you. It's like he's like saying they enforce this fear, this kind of thing, and we take it. I guess we take it in, and somehow or another, we're afraid to talk about the past. I guess talk about the history. Don't want to pass anything down. And I just thought that was just so sad. But I think it still happens today, honestly. No one wants to talk about the past. But I think it's important that they do pass that history down, whether it's good or bad. Just pass it down because we need it. We need it, or we're going to find ourselves repeating it all over again. So that's crazy.
Absolutely true. There are so many people, especially Black people, seniors today, that they have a lot of history that they're holding on to, things that have happened to them that they never shared. There was a gentleman's story that I read that he was, I believe, in his late 80s, and he finally shared that he was hanged when he was a teenager. And the only way that for they tried to hang him they did hang him, but he was able to get out of it. They let him down because they thought, of course, that he had done something to a white woman at the time, and he was pleading with them about his innocence, and someone actually came along and was able to verify what he was saying, and so they cut him down. But he never told anyone until he's in his 80s. That's the kind of fear that still grips some people, that they live these through these types of terrorist acts that they experienced, and a lot of they like, I just I don't want to talk about it. They're afraid to actually talk about it. And then, as I mentioned in the book, that you have some people, they still live in the same town that they grew up in. So if Mr. John tried to hang you when you were 17, well, now Mr. John's great nephew is probably mayor or something like that.
Right.
And so it's like they still, they hold on to
that time, that moment of time. Yeah.
Because, and now they're afraid, that they're going to have some type of repercussion or blowback from, this mayor. It's like that lineage in that town, still has a grip over the people and the Black people that live there. So it's like they carry that. And there's so much that's been taken to the grave that we won't ever know, that they never shared, as far as what they experienced, what they saw.
Right.
Just horrible.
It's just amazing. I want to talk about one other thing that I thought was fascinating. We'll come back from our next sponsor, but we'll capture that when we come back. Very interesting. So, hey guys, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you're just tuning in to the broadcast, you are here at an interview with author G.B. Lynch. She is the author of We Are Still Supposed to Be Slaves, the Chronicles of Being Black in America. And we're having a fascinating conversation on just history, not only African American history, but African history as well. And even up until today's time, how all of this stuff is really relevant today. I'm about to call you Dr. Lynch. Uh-oh. Did you hear that? I was going to say Dr. Lynch. Okay, I'm going to say Dr. Lynch has compiled a reference list of over 150 references to support what she was able to unearth about our history. When we come back from our break, meeting our next sponsor, we're going to talk about a few things again that's still relevant today. So you got to get this book, guys. It is a wonderful book, and it will make a great gift. A great family heirloom. It just make a great gift. And if you know anybody who love African American history and African history or history period, this is a good book to add to their library. So we'll talk about that more when we come back. But anyway, let's meet our second sponsor, guys. Now this time we're calling all independent singers and rappers and poets. Do you want to have your videos played in rotation on Armstrong International Media, TV, internet streaming platforms? Well, if so, for more information on affordable packages, along with social media and marketing services, contact April J. Armstrong at AIM Incorporated 21 at gmail.com. Again, that's AIM, AIM, Incorporated, the numbers 2 and 1 at gmail.com. April is also the first spoken word artist on Untapped Talent Records. Her new song, To a Friend, can be purchased at Untapped Talent Recordings at gmail.com. Let's hear from April now and meet one of her satisfied customers, actress and evangelist Andre Harris. And we'll hear her new song, To a Friend. We'll be right back.
Armstrong International Media, or AIM, for the culture for the collective, is the global premier cultural arts network where we hold all our power. A social media and marketing company, we also offer voiceovers, graphic design, commercial development, and of course, podcast production. Speak out loud to start your day or whisper into your evening. Discuss relationships or catch a one-man, one-woman feature. Dominating through testimony is, of course, poetry. Make sure to contact us for affordable packages to invest in your brand or your business. So make sure to follow, subscribe, like, and share. And AIM, for the culture, for the collective.
Neglected, rejected, my mom molested from the mental anguish of being with you. Wanting to be rid of the pain I'm going through. Holding my pillow tight, damn, something just ain't right. If you can't feel me sobbing next to you in bed, is it all in my head? Have I created a non-existent problem between you and I? The guy who stepped from my dreams, I mean.
Okay, we are back. And all right. you had a chance to meet Miss April J. Armstrong. Armstrong International Media will broadcast this show and interview with this spring via Roku and Fire Stick. So stay tuned for the official launch. And I want to thank Armstrong International Media for presenting an interview with AIM. Just so you guys know, the very last clip you heard or you saw, it was a clip for our guest tonight, just to let you know where you can find her book. She has it available on Amazon, so check it out. Get the book; it's really great. All right, so mentioned before before the break that I had another a question I wanted to ask you, and you touched on human trafficking. We talked about how this thing has just been a cash cow, as you stated, and how since the beginning of time, well, we'll just say with respect to African Americans, do you want to touch on human trafficking as it relates to enslavement and the money that's being made off of organs?
I think that was one of the two most interesting things, not in a great way, but just how there are literally people that are basically hunting us as Black people for our organs, and not just internally, but our bodies. There have been cases documented, as I do speak about in the book, where there's this company that they provided, body parts for like medical research and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've often wondered, and I know when you're in, like medical school training, uh, people that are training to be physicians, they do need cadavers, and there are people that do donate their body to
Yeah,
science when they pass
right.
away. Sure, absolutely, I understand it.
Got it. Yep.
Knew about that, was aware about that.
Yeah.
But, some always kind of stuck with me though, kind of like, well, really, do people really donate themselves, every day like that though? I mean, I know you have organ donors, but really, do people like really donate themselves like that every day? So for some reason, there's always been this interest or belief by some that, we as Black people, that, our bodies are richer. We have like our organs, our blood, they seek it out for their longevity, when they're in need of different parts and things. But what I was not aware of until I discovered this was that literally body parts, like this one company was doing was dealing, if you will, in body parts. Like you could buy a torso, or uh, a half a body, or a leg and thigh, or what have you. I mean, and then they discovered that these were not Black people parts that they had willingly donated as well. So it's like we just have to be careful in general as a Black race. It's like we have a lot of people that, again, even as our ancestors were enslaved, and they did not see them or view them, as human beings, did not believe that they felt pain, so did all types of research and medical discoveries that they utilized for experiments. So what I want people to understand is that that's not yesterday. That is still happening today. Those barbaric things are still happening to us today. With regard to human trafficking, I truly believe that a lot of us that are missing, a lot of it has to do with sinister things like that. Um, and to me, and again, as I say in the book often, it is my belief or it is my opinion that a lot of our missing, they don't get or receive the media coverage that they should, uh,
Mm-hmm.
because of things like that. I I just won't say that I believe that this is something that's not known,
Mm-hmm.
um, in the circle of the people that could be giving more media coverage,
Yeah.
because to me a missing person is a missing person.
Right.
why, why is it that oftentimes the Black community, we're responsible, or we bear the responsibility of trying to find our own people?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they run the story somewhere once, it might be local. It may not make it national, and if we do get some national coverage, they'll pick one person when we've got a roster
Yeah,
of
a
people
roster.
that are missing. And
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to Black women are, I mean, the list is just so long of the missing Black women around the country that nobody talks about. There's
Wow.
rarely any discussion about it. You just would think that the only people that get the missing, I'm sorry, but are white women.
Mm-hmm.
And again, and I'm not saying that they should not receive coverage. I'm just
Right.
saying the rest of us should too.
Mm-hmm.
Our lives are valuable as well. We have loved ones that are looking for us and missing us and want us to return home too.
Right.
I definitely believe a lot of the human trafficking today is still not that much different than, you know, the way it started so many years ago.
It's really interesting. I love that, like how you kept using the word cash cow, and
Hmm.
it's been going on for years. I mean, for centuries, and it's really amazing. It's just like they may find one way of doing something to make money off of the slavery, and then somehow or another it just changes throughout time. And I even like how you talked about the sharecroppers and how many of them technically you felt
Yes.
like well, based on the writing, felt like that a lot of people still didn't receive their freedom until the 60s as sharecroppers, and it's
They
just
don't know
interesting.
these things.
Hmm.
They don't know. You think that, again, we have to think about who actually has told us the majority of our history.
Exactly.
It hasn't been us. We haven't passed down our history. We discussed that a little
Hmm.
bit ago. So
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
you leave your history to be told to you by someone that doesn't even look like you,
Hmm.
they're going to tell you anything.
Right. Yeah,
And
you're
then
right.
we just believe it
Hmm.
because we're not going to question it. If we're taught, as you said, you took a class, if we're being taught by someone that is supposed to be an educator, someone that's knowledgeable in this subject of
Yeah.
Black history,
Hmm.
so we're supposed to be able to believe them and trust that the knowledge that we're receiving from that person is valid. It's actual, true, authentic history. But unfortunately, we have been told a lot of things that just aren't true. As I like to say, it has a slant to it,
Yeah.
something that they have taught us throughout history. And it's important for us to check out these things and verify,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot
Just
of
check
it is wrong.
research, question. I remember
They
one time.
money.
Yeah, it's about money. I remember one time you did talk about religion a little bit in the Bible. I mean, in the Bible, in your booklet as well. I must be getting sleepy. You mentioned in your book about how we let me find it. It was something. It was a good quote. It was we're living in a historical drought. I love that, and we have left everything in the past except for religion. And I remember being in church. I think I had just joined a church. I really wasn't raised in church as a child. But I did go. I did go when I would visit with my great grandmother. But when I got older, I would say, oh, it's what you do. And I did it. I became a member of a couple of churches. And I never forget one evening I went to a Bible study because I was just, like you said, I'm learning. I want to learn. And you can't just tell me something. I don't ask questions. I'm going to ask you questions. I don't care if you're the elder in the church. I don't care if you the daddy of the church or whatever they used to say back in the day, the father of the church or whatever. I'm going to ask a question. Pastor, I'm going to ask questions. And we was in Bible study, and I can't remember what we were going over that night. I don't remember what we were going over that night, but I asked a question in front of everybody, in front of the elders of the church, in front of everybody. I raised my hand. I was just sitting there, and I said, I have a question. I said, who were we worshiping or believing in before they came and was missionaries, coming to like places like in Africa or colonizing different places? Who were we worshiping back then? Because I didn't know. I had no idea. I never thought about it. Never thought that before this thing that there was something else. Never thought. I just said, let me just ask. You would have thought I blasphemed everybody there. I mean, they was like, oh man, I got chewed up one side on the other. I could not believe it. I was like, well, it's a question. And it was a legitimate question. Because like, what, who were we as a people from our homeland or the motherland? Who did we worship?
Yes.
I mean, before we heard these other names and terms and the King James, this and that, who did we absolutely worship? We worship somebody. And then why were we told that our spirituality was pretty much evil, basically, and they wanted to be converted? I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we were barbaric and we were eating people. I mean, I don't know. I just really wanted to know what made us believe that we were not spiritual beings or couldn't have a relationship with the God of our understanding at that time. Why did we allow them to, and then go as far as taking that same religion and using it to enslave us? That's what I feel. Now, I don't mean to shake up anything, but I do believe that a lot of it was done with not the greatest intent. But there's good in everything, but not, and there's also bad. But I just was like, when I read that part in the book, I was like, you know what? I always felt like that, but I don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers because people can believe what they want to believe and do what they want to do. It's why we have 50,000 religions in the world. You have a ball. But there was that one part of me that said, how did we let someone strip us of everything that we were as a people? From being spiritual to, the way of living, how we took care of our families, even breaking up families and things. I mean, it's just a lot. A lot of the stuff that we're doing today came from, from our ancestors, from inoculations. We talk about, creating vaccines and stuff like that. We have a long history of so much great things. I still don't understand how we allowed ourselves to get, transform like that. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there. I just don't know. But I do question it. I question like, what's so much. I don't know. I felt like, I don't know. I just always felt like we have so much. We're gifted. How did we allow ourselves to go through that many years of just being? And I'm not saying we didn't try to fight for our, you talked about rebellions and things here in the book too. I'm telling you, this is a good book. She has so much, and this is just volume 1. She talked about rebellions. I mean, we have a lot that we've done to try to overcome this thing, but and all we've done is something up here that hasn't clicked yet. That's what I'm trying to say. How did we let ourselves, I don't know, how do we let ourselves get transformed to the point where we forget who we were before all that came about? I don't know. Or before they came along, before the ships came, before the Arabs came, before whomever. How did we let ourselves and then get I don't know, how do we sell it? How do we sell each other out? We still do that today a lot of times. I hated to say it, us as Black people, we would sell each other out sometimes. And that's what we did back in the day. Well, half of us got over here. Somebody sold us out, set us up,
It's connected.
It was
It really
money
is.
or for guns or it's for gunpowder. I'm like, how do we let that happen? I don't know. It's a question I don't know if
Absolutely.
you have a good answer, but it makes me
It's one of
wonder.
those situations that exactly. It just makes you, like I said, when you really understand the dynamics of, our history, it just makes you question things. And as you said, I didn't write a word to, you know, offend or make anyone feel any type of way,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it came to the religious piece. But I'm like, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
asking a question. It's like
Yeah.
if you really understood the fact that, first of all, our enslaved ancestors, their owners did not even believe that Africans had souls. So my question was this:
Mm-hmm.
if you don't think a person has a soul, then why are you presenting them with religion in the first place? That was my first question.
Mm-hmm.
But then, secondly, the religion that you are presenting them with, is it really the same religion that our ancestors
Okay, so we have a little technical difficulty. Can't talk about religion, they cut you off. Hopefully she'll pop back in. But yeah, guys, if you are tuning in, I was speaking to author GB Lynch. This is her book, We Are Still Supposed to Be Slaves, The Chronicles of Being Black in America. Let me tell you, this is a really great book. And again, when you begin to read through the pages, you're going to find quite a bit of things that's going to really kind of pierce at your heartstrings, or pull at your heartstrings rather. May make you think a little bit. And she's back. I was speaking to everybody. I think you're still mute. I think you're mute, but you're mute. There we go.
I'm sorry
Okay.
about that. I don't
I
know
just
what
said
happened. All of a sudden, I'm in
joke.
mid-sentence. I guess that's what
Right.
happened.
I made a joke. I said, "Don't talk about religion. You'll get cut off. You're gonna get cut off." but
Yeah,
I
when
was
it
just
cut
sharing with
me
everybody. This
off,
book is just
I couldn't even
awesome.
say what I was trying to say. But so be like, that's
Get
it.
the book,
But
people. Get
anyway,
the book. Get the book. Get the book. But it's great to have these types of conversations because it's and it is so funny. Again, everybody's
I
not at the
can't.
same place in their life or growth and maybe their interest in in certain things. So I'm super open minded about quite a few things. I mean, I just say I'm like, oh well, it's what you believe is what you believe or whatever. And I don't knock anybody because it is what it is. Because there was a time where I had my beliefs, certain beliefs, and I still have beliefs for certain things. But who am I to judge? I'm not going to judge you. That's what you do is what you do. But at the same time, I like to ask questions. I ask too many questions sometimes, and I like to kind of like get underneath things. And I'm like, okay, and then questions start rolling into more questions and more questions. And before I know, I'm like, wait a second, how did we get here? How did we get here? So, guys, it looks like she's having more problems logging on and staying logged on. But I want to share with you her, once again, her information. And this book again can be purchased on Amazon.com. I know someone asked already in the chat. And if you can, we are still supposed to be slaves. The Chronicles of Black Americans. Being Black in America. You guys can get her book on Amazon at Amazon,
No
Amazon.com.
justice.
Amazon.com. So yeah, I think this is a great. I love how you said take a literary trip to answer the question, why do Black people get treated the way they do? And others have their own history, but Black experience is really unique. And I think it is too. I really think it is too. It
Because I
and I
believe
mean,
it's all connected.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I absolutely enjoy having talks about this because 10 years ago, I wouldn't have had a understanding of
Absolutely.
more
That's the
unearthed
social
information about us to have such conversations. And 20 years before that, it was whatever I was taught as a young child. That's all I knew. And that was it. And before that, it was whatever they taught us in the history courses back in the day. And that was it. That was it. That was pretty much it. But I thank God for the internet, and I thank God for
all of
the
us.
ability to unearth
Absolutely.
all of this information, going back to the beginning of time. So I'm glad to be able to do that. I'm glad, thankful for genealogy research when you meet other people who may have information that, they can share, and, you could just get more insight or gain more insight. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate you for coming on tonight. Hi, James. Thank you for tuning in, James. I don't know if you had a chance to come stop through for the entire show, but when you get a chance, that's author James Rodman. He has a book, the best book on the streets, called My Butterfly. Y'all get at Author James Rodman on all social media platforms, okay? So I wanted to put let's see. I wanted to put a banner up really quickly. It is the show. Let me see. I'm going back through your book. I know I saw a page where people can find you. They can find you on Twitter, Facebook, GB Lynch author, Instagram, GB Lynch _ author. You have a website, gblynchauthor.wixsite.com. You have a blog. And your email address, is it still gblynch _ author at yahoo.com? Is it? It is?
It is. And I do
Okay.
respond.
Okay, good. I'll put all
It
of that
is
in the
still
news
correct.
feed, or chat rather, for everybody. So anything else really quickly? I
I
know
have
we're
a
going over
podcast
time.
too.
Oh, you have a podcast. Oh, oh, really?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I was just saying, yeah, I have a podcast too. Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, wow. Is it
So you
based on
can
such topics as
find
this
that
only, or anything?
anywhere podcast.
Okay. Well, we got to give that.
Anything, mostly still Black history related, but not specific to the book, just general topics, concerning,
Okay.
our community.
Well, I will drop her
But
information
absolutely.
in the feed, guys, so you guys can check her out. Let's see if we have any more comments real quick. Hi, Nikkei. And hi, James. Thank you so much. Hi, Jordan. And once again, I just want to thank everybody for coming through tonight. Anything else you want to say to the viewers and listeners before we close?
I just thank you all that tuned in. I appreciate everyone that has read the book, all of the opportunities that I've had to discuss it. I just wrapped up for Black History Month the beginning of my book tour for this year. So I have a few more venues that I'll be traveling to do signings and things like that. So it's been awesome. I appreciate all of you. And if you do get the book, please do a review.
Okay. I'll make sure I do one. I'll make sure I do a review too. So please, everybody, when you get the book, get the book, and please do a review. Okay. Review the book. It is, again, it's a well put together book, and she said that's not it. She have a couple of more volumes that's going to come out after this one, so I can't wait. And again, I just like the fact that you introduced so many new names to our history that I hadn't even heard about, who had a play in either helping to end it, or helping people through the history, or who have been advocates, or like Pan-Africanists, for instance, for the cause of just for ending this. Wow, there's a lot of stuff in
Mm-hmm.
here. Oh my God. Man, y'all gotta get this book. You gotta get this book and be
You
ready.
gotta read it.
Get ready, because there's a lot of stuff that's gonna make you say, "Oh my goodness." But I mean, but it's
My
history.
next book, I'm sorry, but before you let me go, my next book that's going to be coming out before these volumes, I actually have a soul food history book that's going to be
Okay.
coming out um, hopefully in a couple of months, from where, a lot of us, we have traditions, foods that, we
Mhm.
grew up eating and things like that, but really don't know the history behind why we eat great great grandma's mac and cheese recipe or what have you. So
Okay.
I think that'll be interesting too.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I can't wait to hear,
That's
see that, read that. Okay. All
Thank
right,
you.
guys. Well, thank you. Hi, Terry. I
That's
didn't
it
know
for
you was
me.
on. Hey, Terry. Thank you for being here. Hey, Warren. So yeah, people showing you a lot of love in the chat. So that's good. So listen, you got to come back when you get the other volumes. We'll have you come
Thank
back and let's
you.
talk about some more stuff because
I really
this. I
appreciate you
mean,
all.
I,
Thank you for
I keep
the
showing this book because here we go. I keep showing the book because this book is thick and it's rich of a lot of stuff. But I can imagine what else you got in your
Thank you. I
hands on.
appreciate
My
it.
good
I'd
Lord.
be happy to.
Well, good. Okay, guys. Well, I will definitely have you back, and I just want to
Thank
thank
you.
you once again for being
Thank
a
you. I really
part
appreciate you.
of
Thank you.
this. Yeah. So, okay, to everybody that's still on board, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I look forward to watching our guest continue to grow and continue to build and share. I've already called her Dr. Lynch tonight. But we are here with Author G.B. Lynch. So maybe I was speaking something into existence. I don't know. But I just want to say thank you again. I don't know. I just said doctor. I said it just fell out my mouth. It's Dr. Lynch. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I said that. Just fell out. The words fell out my mouth. So maybe that means something. Maybe that means something. You've already done the research, so you already have
I
your
appreciate
what do they call it? The paper you write when you get your master's or your doctorate. You already have all the research you
your
need to get this,
thesis.
yeah, that's it. You're there, yeah. So you're
Yeah.
already there. So that's a good thing. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed themselves tonight, and I want to always thank my sponsors. The most loving people, Untapped Talent Records, Untapped Music Radio, and Armstrong International Media. So that's DJ Get Loose or Frank Hatchett, Minister T. Hatchett, and April J. Armstrong. Thank you so much for supporting this show every week. I want to invite everybody to come back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. to learn more about another talented creative. And if you know someone who you believe is a talent that the world needs to know about, please give me a contact. Reach out to me at an interview with 430 at gmail.com. And once again, that's an interview with 430 at gmail.com. So I can book you and we get to let you tell your story right here on the interview with. So thank you again, everybody. And I look very much forward to seeing, you guys again next week. And we're going to close out. And you all have a wonderful evening. And thank you again. Thank you again, Dr. Lynch. Thank you so much. All right.